excuse me, they're super useful. Vampires, hickeys, and that's just two off the top of my head. If you enjoy videos on making armor, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future content. I'm using a 10-ounce vegetable tan here, so I can dye it, carve it, all that stuff. Even when I'm making costume armor, I want it to be at least 10 ounces. As always, you can find all my patterns and artwork on my website, link in the description down below, and you can also find the same pattern and art on the month that it's released on my Patreon. So have a look at that. I imagine 99% of my videos have leather carving. This is some Viking Celtic style artwork that I've designed specifically for this gorget. Use it or don't. Use your own. Do whatever you want. It's the world is your clamshell, or whatever the saying is. You know what I'm saying. So I'm going to go over leather carving really quickly. Vegetable tan leather is a must. You can't use anything else. You're going to wet your leather, use your tracing film either with a pencil or a printer, and put your image onto the leather with a stylus. Once that's done, you're going to carve it with a blade called a swivel knife, and then you're going to bevel your lines to make everything look like it's got some depth. And those are the basics. All you need really is to cut some lines, add some depth and texture. You don't really need a lot of tools, and you can check the description of this video for links to tools. These little tabs need to bend, so there's a couple options you can do. You can just skive them if you want, or do what I've done here, which is use a groover. You cut a deep line along the backside of the leather like a trench, and then skive it down until it bends enough to where you can attach it nicely to the front and back of the gorget. I'm going to try this one more time. If you go over to Patreon, it is cheaper to get this pattern than it is on my website, but only for this month. And on top of that, you also get a bunch of other patterns and art. You might want to check it out. You can thank me later. It's always the little details that take your work to the next level. Always make sure you bevel and burnish. One of the things I wanted to do with this armor is start to experiment with different paint or dye styles. I'm using a slap chop miniature painting technique here. I'm going to dry brush it up with gray and white, and then apply a Citadel contrast paint to the background. Mwah. I'm super happy with how the paint and dye job turned out. It's very different than anything else I've done, so give it a shot, you know, play around with stuff. It's always neat to experiment. Then I clean up the edges where I've accidentally gone onto the border, and then I re-dye it black. If you're looking for tools and supplies, I've got you covered. Make sure you check the description of this video for a link to LONSDALE Leather, as well as a 10% off coupon code, or check out my Amazon Associates account for other tools and supplies. All my patterns come with the holes necessary for hand stitching, but I have a sewing machine. I'm gonna fucking use a sewing machine. Go figure. There are domed head leather rivets that you can use to get this kind of effect. I just really love these rivets and have been using them for ages. It's a bit overkill to use peening rivets on a project like this unless you are making it for combat. I'm using Angelus matte finish with a 50-50 water finish ratio. I just want a light matte finish. I don't want it to be super glossy, and so this worked perfectly. I like my little stapler for keepers. It's really handy. The keeper is just too far back. I had to rip it out and move it forward. I'll make a note of that on the pattern. using a little bit of Loctite here in combination with this Chicago screw so it doesn't pop out with all the opening and closing. I gotta say, this looks fantastic. Hold on a second before you take off. I've got another armor build video right here for you. These are the shoulders that go with this gorget as part of this suit of armor that I'm building out. And until next time, keep on being creative in whatever it is you do.